All right, questions from Twitter. Nika the Lefty asks or says, who's more valuable to their team, you or Eric Lang, and why is it Eric? Next question. Jeff Yerk says, if the PPA suddenly said all serves are legal again, what would your first serve back look like? Oh, I would be spin serving the heck out of it. I don't know what you expected me to say there. Yeah, massive two-handed spin serve. This one, and I assume that means we would be going back to the old USAP rules because I don't know how you could spin serve under the current rules, even though they do call me for spin serve sometimes. Yeah, just massive spin serve. Pablo Galves asks, what's your take on calling out players in rec play or in tournaments who have a paddle that strongly appears to be delaminated or core crushed? Does the answer depend on levels? Like if it's under 4.0, but over 4.0, make a stink about it. Yeah, I mean, like, I think you got to look inwards first because a lot of people, pro level or any level, love to just throw out, oh, I'm losing. This person's paddle is illegal. It's tough because, like, some people just throw that out there, and then some people also have, like, a very keen ear for it. So let's say it's just like a mod or something that's actually banned. I think it's pretty reasonable in any sort of tournament setting to be like, yeah, that thing's illegal. You can't play with it. But like in rec play, I would say who cares unless they're playing in a way that's like dangerous. Like if it's some dude who's just ripping the ball and like they're going like 20 feet out and he can't control it, I'd be like, yeah, that's ridiculous. But if you're playing against somebody where it just doesn't impact their game all that much, I would say just let it be. You can almost even think of it as a challenge. Jake Kolkman has clearly a podcast listener and has heard my rants about the distraction rule. He says the only reason I would want a distraction rule is if one of the four players intentionally distracts the other team. So couldn't the distraction rule just be replaced with an unsportsmanlike conduct rule? Um, yeah, potentially, but I think it's always going to be like left up to referee judgment what is unsportsmanlike conduct and what is an intentional distraction. I would rather just take it completely out of the referee's discretion and make it so that any player can say whatever they want whenever they want, and people just have to deal with it. The only exception being since we do call our own lines, you can't basically like say out and expect that to not be a distraction. Jay Bulko 808 says incentive-based contracts for the new PPA. Did they do anything in the contract for MLP? Too many no-shows this weekend. Yeah, definitely too many no-shows this weekend. We're still in the old contracts. None of the new stuff is kicked in until early next year. But next year, from the sound of it, players are going to be very, very heavily incentivized to want to play and win every single MLP match. I can't remember if the MLP prize money structure has been publicly released yet or not. But it is a very, very healthy financial incentive to want to win any MLP event. John Wilkerson asks, if you knew you could place in the top 3 in at least one event each weekend in the APP, would you let your PPA contract expire? Um, First off, I think I would do pretty well on the APP. You know, especially if I played with like Will or Jack or you know one of those other top guys. I think I'd be certainly contending for titles, and yeah. So I mean, like I think I would be in that boat, and I definitely wouldn't let I basically already made that decision, right? I'm not letting my PPA contract expire. I've got a solid deal, and I think at the end of the day, the PPA right now just has the most eyeballs on it and the best opportunity for income. You know, if you're far down in the rankings, maybe there's a different story there. But yeah, I basically kind of already made that decision, and it wasn't a very difficult one to stick with UPA, MLP, PPA. Ray Pareda asks, I enjoy watching I think he's talking about like the pros versus 5-0s content. Question, is that type of game for pure fun or does that fine tune your skills too? I So, like, it definitely doesn't fine-tune your skills, but I think problem solving on the pickleball court is a super, super important skill, so maybe it fine-tunes that. Thinking through different situations, there's always something interesting or different happening in these matches. So being able to think on your feet and adapt in weird situations where it's forced upon you like that is, I think a skill. Okay, hashtag winning gives me three options. Um, he gives me three options of questions to pick. One is who has the biggest beef in pro pickleball and why. Two is rate the top three pickleball podcasts. And three is are you and Jimmy Miller besties? Because that's my dude. You know what? I'm in a good mood today. Hashtag winning. So I'm going to answer all three of your questions. Who has the biggest beef in pro pickleball and why? I think probably, Matt and Tyler seem to get into it. I think they've just played each other a million times and don't care for one another. I still think they're even like friendly when they see each other and stuff, or friendly enough. I don't think there's any crazy beefs right now. A lot of players have kind of put those aside since we do see each other on a week in week basis, or maybe we just haven't heard about some of them recently. Rate the top three pickle podcasts. I'm gonna exclude the pickle pod because obviously number one. I like King of the Court. I'm very excited for the new Balls Deep podcast. That is Ava and Camilla's podcast. It'll be interesting to see what they come up with. They're both pretty funny. So excited to see that. And then I'm gonna go. I would have gone with Tennis Sucks, but they rebranded themselves to Bad Calls Podcast, and that's just weak. Stick with Tennis Sucks, but I love it when Travis just gets on there and talks some shit. And then three are me and Jimmy Miller besties. I wouldn't say besties. Like, I get along with Jimmy. I would be pretty hypocritical if I was offended by somebody who just called it the way that they saw it. I think Jimmy is a lot like me, or Jimmy and I are pretty similar in certain ways. We talk about different stuff, but we kind of just say things from our own opinion. I think we've got, different lines on, like, I don't want to report news. I don't really want to talk about the interpersonal stuff. I don't really want to talk about, the behind the scenes gossip or that type of stuff. That's more his niche. I'm more opinion on what is basically going out. But I feel like we both kind of just say what we want to say and like can own up to our own, stuff. So, I like Jimmy a lot. I don't know him all that well. Nicholas Nicastro asks, "Where was I and Anna Lee this past weekend?" We were there. I was on the bench, and so was Anna Lee. She was ill, so yeah, we were there. TJ Slattery asks, "Who does the flash drop?" Um, I feel like I don't know. I mean, the Flash have to drop either Tyra, Georgia, or JW. I think since since the Johnsons are such a large part of that team, I would imagine it's got to be Tyra. And then I'm sure they're going to try and do whatever they can to pick her back up. Barry Foster Steinman asks, should pickleball have an event that has rowdy, intoxicated fans akin to the Waste Management Open in golf? I had a very rowdy and intoxicated fan behind me yesterday, and it was really annoying. However, I do think it's good for the sport. Maybe there's some way of kicking out the really annoying ones, but yeah, I mean, I think the fans should be involved. I've been on record saying that for a very long time. I think that's good for the sport and good for viewership to have fans like fired up and wanting to be there. That's all the ones we're going to answer for today. You ever try Maui Nui venison? I'm telling you, it's wild. Literally. These are wild axis deer from Maui, living free with no feedlots, no antibiotics, none of the industrial junk. The meat's lean, clean, and aged for 2 weeks for flavor and tenderness. It's got more protein per calorie than just about anything else out there, and it tastes phenomenal. They ship it frozen in their Ohana Reserve box. 3 premium aged cuts and ground venison when you order at mauinuivenison.com/thedink. They'll even hook you up with a free 12-pack of jerky sticks for your first order. Again, that's MAUINUI venison.com/thedink for the most flavorful meat in the world. Yeah.